All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls. Very pleased to have the superintendent of our Catholic school system here in the area, Dr. Mark Williams. No stranger. He's been on a few times. You feel like if you meet him in person, you feel like you've been knowing him for years. He's that kind of guy. Dr. Mark, welcome to the program.
Martin, I am glad to be here. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, and let me tell you, when you came on board, I'm not saying we didn't have good things in place, but I always say it's similar to when parish presidents come on board. Our first parish president I ever interviewed was Bobby Lyons, and several later. Everybody tries to make the place a little better. But we're talking about National Catholic Schools Week, and I'm gonna mix in some things that you've done that are quite intriguing. So let's start off with the Catholic Schools Week. Anything different this week?
Yes. Actually, January 29th to February 4th is the official Catholic Schools Week across the country. So we're blessed here because going back to the work of, Père Menard and everyone who was the pioneers of Catholic education here in the Bayou, we're blessed, because Catholic Schools Week, it's really centuries old, celebrating this, this academic excellence. But here in the Bayou, it's rich. It's really rich. And so this week, we decided to really go all out. So what do I mean? What do I mean by that? So one, we have we're going to have an art display in Thibodaux and at Terrebonne General, the work of the students. We're going to have the principals of the schools who are going to talk at some of the masses over the next 2 Sundays. We're going to have a state of the school address, probably done via video sent to the parents and also on social media. So each of the schools that our viewers are watching, they should keep track of what's going on with the school, because the leaders are going to have some type of state of the school address.
So each school does their own. Wow.
Yes, and so
That's cool.
So for example, on Wednesday we're going to be down in La Rose at Holy Rosary, and we're going to actually make theirs on Wednesday.
Wow.
So
So you sort of you're putting an emphasis, seems to me, on, you almost got to go backwards to go forward. You had to find out some nuts and bolts of things that were going on in the schools
yes,
before you could correct it in the eyes of the parishioner or whatever and move forward.
yes.
How hard was that?
Well, it was very difficult. It was beyond difficult because it involved an accreditation review. Now, when I first came here in July and during June, when I was preparing to move here, it was not pleasing to me to know that we had a district accreditation review, and every teacher and administrator out there watching this knows how much work that is. It's like writing a dissertation in 6 months. So I didn't look forward to doing that, but in hindsight, we've done the work. And it was God's way of saying, you're going to learn everything about these schools, whether you're kicking and screaming, no matter what. And so we broke it down into 8 different pieces, and we studied our schools, the good, the bad, the challenges, and now we know everything good and everything that we need to work on.
I would imagine when you undertake something like that, like you said, there's going to be some that go, oh, really? Do we really have to do this? And I'm not going to say they grudgingly do it, but it's not what they like to do. But do you sense now that they have the review and it's moving forward that everybody sort of went,
I think so. In past years, going back to when I was a principal, this was usually a process that fell onto the principals. And I was determined that I was not going to put this on the principals. I want them to focus on making their school the best that it can be. and being responsive to their families. And so we created 8 committees which had chairs, and each principal had to nominate 3 people from their school who are willing to serve, who are really good educators, willing to serve on these committees, and we were able to do that. So we did the work from a very grassroots perspective.
And I guess you have to find people on these committees that probably are a little bit meticulous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And once they turned in all of the work, to us in the Office of Catholic Schools, then we edited all of it, made it pretty by branding it, and we just recently uploaded into Cognia, our international accreditant.
A lot of times people do a lot of work. It gets thrown in a file somewhere and it never takes place. You took this pretty serious, didn't you?
We did. We did. We looked at it very, very carefully. Much of what we looked at was good, but you want to go to the highest that you could possibly be. Let me give you a good example that everybody's going to understand. Student performance. What's more important than student grades and what students score on test scores? Well, the beauty about these students at these Catholic schools is that we're already higher than the state and national averages. So, like, for example, everybody knows ACT scores. So, like, the ACT scores in the high schools averages 23. Well, that's a really good ACT score. Here in the Catholic schools, it will get you second level tops, free tuition with a score like that. So how do we propose we're going to take it higher? So the committee that looked at student performance identified some things that we think can take it even higher. We're going to change testing platforms. We're going to change how we prepare for that test. We're going to implement a different form of interim testing. So instead of taking one test at the end of the year, we'll take multiple interim tests during the year to guide instruction. So your question may be, well, Mark, how do you intend to pay for that? How are you going to pay for that? You gave one test, now you're going to give 4 tests. Well, we'll have to rechannel what's known as our Excellence in Education Fund grants and 8G grants to be, and some of our title funds to be able to do this. But we'll do it, and we'll see in a year, 2 years, if it's working.
Which also leads me that you did all this work and you did all of these dissertations on yourself. In the long run, does that help you get better grants?
Well, I certainly think it puts, once you achieve international accreditation, I think it does put a very recognized stamp of approval on your organization. People will know that this has been reviewed by someone other than people here in the diocese. It's been reviewed by people around the country, and they have agreed, disagreed, concurred, offered other solutions, but you've collaborated with people to
I compare that sort of like the levy system in Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish when people passed their own tax because they saw the skin in the game. With your diocese participating, forming committees, coming up with some real good stuff, they have skin in the game.
They got skin in the game. They have skin in the game. These people who populated these committees were not mostly administrators. They were teachers in the schools. These are the boots on the ground.
They see it differently.
They know what's going on.
They see it differently.
They see it differently, and as a result, we think we have a really good report. So we measured the schools and student performance, stakeholder analysis, meaning what do parents think, what do teachers think. We even polled the students. We went all the way down to 3rd grade.
Wow.
What do they think? We sent them a survey. We texted everyone these survey links.
Yeah.
So we got good data.
How shocked were you when you saw what 3rd graders say?
Well, you know what? What's interesting with the surveys, 3rd graders were a lot nicer than the high school.
Oh, I bet. Back in our day, we'd have said, well, if y'all give us snowballs every afternoon, we'll be okay.
Yes.
They're a little smarter today, aren't they?
Yeah, it was great when we were looking at the results of and comparing them. You know, high school, middle school, and elementary school. It's unbelievable how the high school kids, they're rough. They don't want to
Yeah.
be told what to do. They don't want to have.
I want to have my cell
I
phone.
want to
under
have
my desk
right.
all
They
the
want to
time.
have all that, and we're saying no. We're gonna, we have to do our work. And
Right.
where the little ones will say, okay, we know we have to do our work. Thank you, y'all are so nice. And the high school, the high schoolers push back, but it was great. They still gave us good feedback. It's just interesting the difference. We studied the learning environment. What's it look like, what we're measuring when we go into a classroom and look at the instructions. So now we know that what we're good at. Now we know what we need to work on.
Let me ask you, we got about a minute and a half left. What do you want to accomplish in this week where the focus is going to be on you all?
I want people to know that, we have 10 Catholic schools in this diocese. We're financially sound, and we want everyone who wants to have a Catholic education to come talk to us because we know how to make that happen. And, people say, oh, well, it's only for Catholics. Well, of course, we're going to vigorously practice our faith in our schools, but we do have 20 to 25% of our students are not Catholic, but we're happy to have them and they are welcome. And, other Christian schools, we have the same gospels that we're practicing, so we welcome them. The other thing is, we want to make sure that, we celebrate our successes. And the schools in this diocese have been doing very, very well for a long time. So much to be proud of. And, we have to celebrate, the wins. We have to celebrate that we've done a good job.
Well, I appreciate you joining us, and a lot of people are going to say, Martin, you didn't ask him about the new bishop. Well, maybe it's because everybody's happy with Father P.J. Madden, but I'm told it'll be weeks and not months, but we don't know. Nobody knows.
We don't know.
We don't have the smokestack in Houma.
No,
like
we
they
don't.
do in Rome, but,
No, we don't.
hey, good to see you again. Congratulations, and keep up the great work.
Martin, thank you so much. It's always good to be with you. It really is. Good to see you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more right here on Bayou Time.